Winky, winky, little Czar, how cruel wonders where you are, sitting in his castle high, feasting on a blackbird pie. Winky, winky, little Czar, how cruel wonders where you are. Chapter 9. Either King William had always been this way, or years of living in exile, holed up in a dark cave on the edge of Torcano Alley, had made him a complete nutcase. He paced around the dimly lit cavern, waving his hands and talking a mile a minute, while his eyes darted about in their sockets like two flies trapped in a mason jar. And when I am king once more, we will have a parade with banners and streamers and flowers. He delivered the words in a high-pitched shout. And I'll declare the day a national holiday. It will be known as Winky Wednesday, and it will be held on the first Wednesday of the month. What do you think? Yes, excellent, said Elsbeth in such a way that the sarcasm could be detected only by the expertly trained ear. I think celebrating Winky Wednesday on a Wednesday is probably the right call. She began crawling toward the cave entrance, or in this case, the exit. Good luck with it. Oh, luck will have nothing to do with it, said William. It will all be due to your skill and bravery. Elsbeth stopped, then sighed and spoke without bothering to turn her head. Hey, listen, Winky. King William, please? Winky interrupted. He rushed around to once more place himself in Elsbeth's line of sight. Whatever, she replied. Either way, you have me confused with someone else. I'm a sixth grader, not a brigadier general, okay? And I have about as much interest of restoring you to the throne as I do of volunteering at a soup kitchen. King William remained silent, still unsure and waiting for further clarification. Which would be none, as in no intention whatsoever, Elsbeth shouted, while fighting off the urge to give the tiny man a good shake or a sound flick with her index finger. Zero, nada, no chance at all. Got it? Good. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on my way to the castle. Great, beamed King William the Umpteenth. Getting started right away. I like it. He rubbed his hands together as if warming them over a roaring bonfire of revenge. That cruel won't know what hit him. I can't wait to see the look on his smug face when he's hauled off to the dungeon for the unspeakable crimes he's committed. Then perhaps I will find a queen with whom to share the glory. Elsbeth stared at the former king. He was either a very poor listener or a door-to-door hearing aid salesman's dream come true. For the last time, she said, I'm going to the castle to see Jack and Jill, apparently the only two people who know how to get out of this ghastly place. And as soon as they tell me where the well is, I'll be going back before you can say hickory-dickory-dock. Now, if you'll excuse me. Elsbeth resumed crawling toward the exit when William scampered in front of the girl, again blocking her way, as well as a way can be blocked by someone the size of a bowling pin. But you can't just leave, he said in a voice that sounded demanding and plaintive in equal measure. You absolutely must restore me to my throne. It is written in the book. I'd show you, but there are only 2 copies in existence. Listen, said Elsbeth, a lot of things are written. Doesn't make them true. I once wrote that I wanted to be president of the chess club because I enjoy working with others. King William once again looked unsure. I don't, said Elsbeth, at all. In fact, not only do I not enjoy working with others, I'm not that fond of others in general, or of working for that matter. And this is beginning to feel a lot like work. With the back of her hand, she nudged King William aside and then crawled out of the cave. Lying on her belly, she shimmied backward until her legs fell over the side of the ledge. But if not you, then who? William whimpered. Who will rid the people of that evil despot? Why don't you recruit some of your loyal subjects? Elsbeth grunted as she lowered herself from the ledge and dug her feet into the side of the cliff. Are you kidding? Said William. Why do you think Cruel banished them to begin with? Because they're all a bunch of sniveling, yellow-bellied cowards. On that much we agree, said Elsbeth. Except for Dumpty, I suppose, said Winky. Shame about the vertigo. Yep, real tragic, said Elsbeth. She released her grip on the rock ledge and began a controlled slide down the sheer, powdery surface. But please, William shouted after her. I did save your life, if you recall. Yes, said Elsbeth, and I'll be sure to send you a thank you card the minute I get home. She skidded down the remaining several feet and then walked toward the switchback trail. A quick visual assessment showed that it had suffered some damage at the hands of the passing storm. Large chunks of the trail had been blasted away, while other sections were blocked by piles of simmering rocks. All of this would increase the degree of difficulty and add time to an already arduous climb. There was no use in complaining, but Elsbeth didn't let that stop her. She muttered and cursed as she trudged up the trail. Meanwhile, Winky continued to call out after her, his words coming through only in snippets. "But it is written. Saved your life. Big parade. Winky Wednesday." When she came to those piles of rocks blocking the path, she managed to get beyond them by clinging to small outcroppings on the cliffside and shuffling over, being careful not to take so long as to be steamed alive by the heat rising off the newly formed stones. When she encountered those places where the path had been obliterated, she jumped across the expanse, giving little consideration to the fact that one misstep would send her sliding and tumbling back to the flatlands below. It wasn't that Elsbeth was necessarily brave, so much as she had become completely fed up. Her tenacity was fueled far more by outrage than by courage. This is the way it had been for almost as long as she could remember. On her first day of school, a small group of children, led by the always catty Sophia Jean Fleener, began needling her about her pudgy arms and her overly round face. Then she replied with a lispy, "Thick thin stone may break my bones." Sophia Jean pounced upon that as well, and Elsbeth did what many children might do in that situation. She cried. The next day, the teasing began anew, but this time Elsbeth did not cry. Instead, she made a split-second decision to punch Sophia Jean firmly in the solar plexus, that's her belly, while the other children looked on in horror. This time, Sophia Jean was the one doing all the crying, and Elsbeth decided right then and there that she much preferred this result to the previous day's outcome. From that moment on, she vowed that anyone who dared make fun of her would be very sorry to have done so. Or, in her own words, "If you say that again, you'll be sorry." And though her ominous threats and fierce reprisals garnered her no friends, they did earn her a reputation as one not to be messed with. And no one did mess with her, or play with her, or talk to her. She became a loner, losing herself in books and wild imaginings, though none quite so fantastic as the reality in which she now resided. And as she would soon discover, things were about to get a great deal stranger yet. When hard work and anger had finally spurred her to the top of the cliff, she found herself once more out of the desert, standing on a grassy plain beneath the shade of a large tree. Looking out across the plain, her heart sank at the sight of the castle, a tiny dot on the horizon, still perhaps 2 miles off. On the verge of tears, for the second time in one day, she managed to fight them off. "Nope," she said with a long sniff. "There's nothing to cry about. You're tired, that's all. You just need to lay down for a moment, and you'll be as good as new." "That's lie down," came a familiar voice from above. Elsbeth looked up to see Fergus perched upon a low-hanging branch of the tree and looking perfectly smug. "Lay is a transitive verb," he added for clarification. "You can lay an egg, but you can't lay down." "That's where you're wrong," said Elsbeth. "I can't lay an egg. Not all of us are birds, you know, but I can lay down. Just watch me." Fergus gave his wings a quick couple of flaps and glided down to a large rock next to Elsbeth, who by then was neither laying nor lying, but sitting in the tall grass. "I was speaking figuratively," Fergus said. "The question is, why are you speaking to me at all?" There may have been anger in Elsbeth's voice, but secretly she was happy to see a familiar face, even one belonging to someone as annoying as Fergus. "Did you follow me all the way here just so you could correct my grammar?" "No, I followed you here to make sure you made it back to the forest alive." "For someone so concerned with what other people say, you sure don't listen very well, do you?" answered Elsbeth. "In case I haven't made myself clear, I have no intention of going back to the forest. Once I find the way out of here, you and your whiny little friends will never hear from me again." "There's so much you don't know," said Fergus, gazing off in the direction of the castle. "He's a monster. Believe me, you have no idea what he's capable of." "Aha," said Elsbeth, jabbing a stubby index finger in the direction of the confused owl. The interjection caught Fergus completely off guard. "You just ended a sentence with a preposition," Elsbeth explained. Re-energized, she jumped back to her feet and performed a victory dance as if she had just scored a go-ahead touchdown in the Super Bowl. Fergus seemed flustered and at a complete loss for words, able only to sputter out a few syllables that sounded like the beginnings of words. "You don't like it very much, do you?" Elsbeth gloated. "Having someone pounce on you the moment you make a mistake." "No," said Fergus, finally able to utter an actual word. I suppose I don't. But please understand, I get no enjoyment out of correcting people. I really don't. It's just that I can't help myself. It used to drive Vera batty. Vera? Who's Vera? Asked Elsbeth. The owl's round, yellowy eyes narrowed. She was my wife, he said. You would probably know her better as the pussycat. The owl and the pussycat went to sea, said Elsbeth. Of course. I didn't realize you two were married. For many years, Fergus confirmed. Seems like an odd match, said Elsbeth. Don't cats usually eat birds? I suppose they do, admitted Fergus, but not my Vera. She wasn't like that. She was the kindest, gentlest soul one could ever hope to meet. You would have liked her. Everyone did. I don't know, said Elsbeth. We have a cat, Mr. Comfy. I'm not terribly fond of him. He throws up in my shoes. Does your wife ever throw up in your shoes? Not much use for shoes, said Fergus, looking down at his talons. Besides, I'm a widower. My wife is no longer with us, as they say. Oh, said Elsbeth. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not, said Fergus. The fact is, you couldn't care less. That's not true, said Elsbeth. It's quite all right, said Fergus. I don't judge you for it, because that cold heart of yours is the very thing that's going to help me avenge the death of my beautiful Vera. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a 5-pound note. Then Cruel sailed by on his luxury yacht, escorted by 2 submarines. Wearing only a Speedo, he cried, "Fire the torpedoes!" All because he detested pea green.